The snow was falling like a wall. The drive from Chicago to Bloomington, Minnesota, used to take about 7 hours. Today it took 9.5. It was white and deaf outside the window. Only the squeaking of the windshield wipers and her own thoughts kept Emma awake. The coffee thermos had been empty since Iowa, and the back seat was decorated with a carefully wrapped cake, double chocolate with strawberry filling. Haley's favorite. One of her favorites. "She'll be surprised," Emma whispered. "Maybe this will help us be sisters again." It had been 3 years since they had last seen each other. After their parents died, their relationship shattered like old glass. Quarrels, silence, resentment. But Emma hoped that her birthday could be a bridge. She would arrive unexpectedly, hug her, give her a cake, and maybe they would remember what it means to be a family. On the side of the road, she noticed a car stuck in the snow. She stopped without hesitation. An old man with glasses was helplessly digging with a shovel. Her shovel and a pulling cable from the trunk saved the day in 15 minutes. "You're my angel today." The old man smiled. "I'm George. And if I can ever repay you—" "It's okay, Mr. George," Emma smiled. "Just enjoy your life. And don't drive alone in a snowstorm again." She didn't think much of it. She got back in the car and drove on. When she finally reached the house, her fingers could not feel the buttons on the intercom. But she didn't press them. She had the key. She knew the code. She wanted to make a real surprise. The door opened quietly. It smelled like pizza and wine inside. She could hear women's voices and laughter. She walked into the hallway and heard, "You won't believe it, she also wrote that she was coming." Ha! I honestly hoped that she would break down on the way. But no, everything was too perfect for her. Miss Perfect. She spoils everything again. Laughter. A familiar voice. "Haley." The world froze. The cake slowly sagged in her hands. She wanted to walk in with a smile, to say, "Surprise." But instead she stood in the hallway, where not even a shadow cast heat. Emma silently turned around, put the cake on the bedside table near the entrance, and walked out into the snow. They didn't even seem to notice her. She got into the car and gripped the steering wheel. Tears were flowing, but she did not cry. She just sat there. Somewhere in her pocket, her phone beeped. A notification. Haley shared a new photo. The party was in full swing. Without her. The engine hummed softly as the car sat on the side of the road a few blocks from Haley's house. It was snowing sparingly, but the wind was picking up again. Emma sat motionless, as if petrified. She hadn't moved for more than half an hour, hadn't even tried to wipe away the tears that were streaming down her cheeks and falling on her sweater. Her own sister. Her own sister. The only one left in the family after the accident. The same accident that killed her parents. And Haley knew that Emma couldn't hear the words. Crash. Without flashbacks. I was hoping she would crash. It wasn't a typo. Not sarcasm. Not drunken stupidity. There was something venomous in Haley's voice, something that indicated that this was not just an insult, it was a wish for evil. And that's why it cut the deepest. Emma started the car and drove into the darkness of the city, anywhere but away. Only the subtle smell of chocolate cake remained in the back seat. She stopped at an old motel near the highway. The room was cheap and smelled a little musty, but the bed was soft and the walls were silent. Emma turned on the heater and sat on the edge of the bed, staring into space. Her phone was shaking with notifications, photos of the party, videos of laughter, stories with glasses of wine. Haley wasn't texting. And that made it even more painful. A few minutes later, the doorbell rang. "Just a minute," she shouted, surprised. She opened it and almost dropped her robe. On the threshold stood George. The same old man she had saved on the road. "I'm sorry to be so late," he said, holding a plastic bag with coffee and hot donuts. "I found out which motel you're staying at. It's a small town. Everyone knows everything. What are you doing here? I felt you needed some company. And warmth." He smiled as if she were his granddaughter. I had a daughter once. She was just like you. And she also once left her sister and never came back. They sat down, drank coffee, and talked for hours. George told me about his loss, how he had built a small coffee empire in Minneapolis from scratch and then sold it all. He left only one coffee shop, the one he opened in memory of his daughter. Her name was Rachel. I've always believed that a good heart attracts good things. You are the proof. Even though you're hurting now, it's just a door closing to open another one. I'm not good at anything. Emma sighed. I'm not a businesswoman. I'm a pharmacist who hates her job. And now I have no family. You know how to be kind. And that's more than most people have. He pulled a business card out of his pocket. If you decide to stay here, I'll rent out my coffee shop. But only to you. All the papers are mine. You'll have a chance to create something of your own. Think about it. Emma looked at the business card for a long time. Then she put it on her nightstand and, for the first time that evening, fell asleep soundly. The next morning she woke up to a phone call. It was Haley. For the first time in a day, Emma's heart sank. She picked up the phone and silently pressed answer. Emma? The voice was even, calm. I saw you here yesterday. I heard you left. Silence. If it's because of what I said, well, you know I was just kidding. You always take everything too literally. It was a party, we were laughing. Did you really want me to have an accident? Well, pause. You're just always so right. Everyone praises you. You do everything right. Sometimes it's annoying, you know? You're your parents' favorite. And my parents are gone. Emma interrupted her calmly. And now you've said more than you probably meant to. So you won't forgive me? I put the cake on the nightstand. It was the last thing I could do as a sister. Her voice trembled, but she was firm. She ended the call. Then she picked up George's business card, read his name again, and smiled. The keys jingled in his pocket. The small bronze key with a black rubber tip was new, but it already felt familiar. Emma stood in front of the door of a coffee shop that yesterday was just a simple building on the corner of 3rd and Hope Streets. Now it was her new start. The sign for Rachel's Coffee hung on chains, a little worn but warm. Inside, it smelled like cinnamon, coffee, and something real. This was not just a coffee shop. It was a place of memory, created by George for the daughter he lost. And now he entrusted this place to Emma. If something goes wrong, quit. If it goes well, don't stop, George said as he handed her the lease. But most importantly, make it yours. And so she did. The first few days were a mess, shoveling through menus, wrestling with the coffee machine, piles of paperwork, buying pastries from the local bakery. She worked from 6 in the morning to 8 in the evening, but she never felt tired. Every night when the door closed, she would turn on some music, bake cookies, and watch the snow fall outside the window. When the first regular customers appeared, an elderly local school teacher, a lonely writer with a laptop, a couple of students who ordered lattes every day and argued about movies, Emma felt for the first time that her life was beginning to sound like her own voice. One Tuesday, a young man walked into the coffee shop. He looked about 30, with a sloppy hairstyle and a laptop under his arm. He looked at the menu for a long time and then asked, "Do you have coffee with orange peel?" "This isn't a Brooklyn bar." Emma smiled. "But I can make something up." And so a new drink appeared on the menu, citrus roast. His name was Lucas. He worked as a graphic designer, had recently moved to Minneapolis from Portland, and was looking for a quiet place that smells like hope. Emma was surprised when he said that. But he smiled in a way that made her want to believe that was exactly what her coffee shop smelled like. A few weeks after opening, she woke up on a Wednesday to a message from George. "Go to the back room. There's a surprise." She went there and saw a box with a sign that read, "Rachel, Recipes." Inside were old notebooks, postcards, photos, and cooking notes from a girl who dreamed of owning her own bakery. On the first page was a short note. My best recipe is the one that reminds someone that life can be sweet. Emma cried, holding the notebook as if it were alive. She decided to add a few of Rachel's original recipes to the menu. One of them was a chocolate cake with strawberry filling. Ironically, it was now a symbol not of disappointment but of renewal. In the spring, the coffee shop began to make a profit. The local newspaper approached her with a small column about the woman who healed her heart through coffee. Lucas helped with a new logo. George came every Saturday, sitting at his personalized table by the window, reading the newspaper, joking with customers. Sometimes in the morning, while pouring her first cup of coffee, Emma would catch herself thinking that she no longer thought about Haley. She doesn't dream of reconciliation. She doesn't remember the last call. She had let go. Until, on a Friday in June, the doorbell jangled. She didn't even look at it right away, she was busy with a client. But when she turned her head, she felt the air in her chest tighten. Haley was standing in front of her. With a haggard face, worn jeans, and a downcast look. She was holding a small suitcase. "Hi," she whispered. I didn't know where else to go." Silence fell between them. The coffee shop was silent. The world was silent. Emma looked at her sister, whom she hadn't seen in 6 months. The same Haley who had once wished her to break. But this was not the same Haley. There was something else in her eyes. Tiredness. Guilt. And something Emma couldn't quite put her finger on. "I'm not here to forgive you. It's just..." Haley put her hands on her stomach. "I don't have anywhere else to go. I'm expecting a baby. He's gone. My friend's gone. And you were always better than I deserved." The silence hung again. Emma held her spoon over her espresso cup and didn't know what to say. The past stood before her. A painful one. Begging for a second chance. And now the choice was hers. The coffee shop, which usually buzzed with morning orders and the aroma of freshly ground Arabica, was silent. Emma stood behind the counter, Haley at the door. Two women united by blood, separated by years of pain, resentment, and silence. And now they were faced with a choice again. "Do you have a place to stay?" was the first thing Emma could ask. Haley shook her head in silence. "Hotels? Hostels? I have $70 left and an overdue credit card." Her sister shrugged. It was sincere. And painful. Because if Haley had a choice, she wouldn't have come here. Not to her. And certainly not with a suitcase. "Okay. For now, stay with me." Emma felt as if she had signed a peace after a war she didn't want. Their coexistence began in silence. Haley lived in the guest room above the coffee shop. She woke up late, walked slowly, and avoided direct eye contact. The pregnancy was noticeable. Emma couldn't ignore it. They didn't talk about the past. Not a word about the party, the phone call, the cake. But time did its work. One morning, as Emma was hanging around the counter making lattes, she spotted Haley mopping the floor. Just like that. Without a word. Then she started taking out the trash. Then she started putting out pastries. "You don't have to do this," Emma said once. "Yes, I do. I feel like I've ruined every chance I've ever had to be someone you can trust. And at least here. I want to be useful." That was new. The Haley of the past never apologized. She made excuses, took offense, attacked first. But this Haley was different, broken, honest, vulnerable. And one evening, when the coffee shop was closing, Emma brought tea to the table and said, "I remember when we used to bake cupcakes at my mom's house. You'd put too much sugar in them and they'd rise like bombs." Haley smiled sadly. "And you always leveled every spoonful of flour with a knife, as if your life depended on precision. I hated you then. I know." Pause. "Then, that day, I wasn't just angry. I was disappointed. I naively believed that I could get everything back. And I believed that destroying you in my mind would make me feel better. But it only made it worse. Emma, I don't deserve your forgiveness. I know that. But I sincerely ask, Help me not to destroy another soul, the one that grows inside. These were the words Emma had been waiting for all her life. Not, I'm sorry. But, I admit I was wrong. And that was enough. You're going to stay. You will help me here. But this time without masks. No competition. Just, like a sister. Like a sister, Haley repeated, and for the first time, there was no disdain in her eyes. Only fatigue and gratitude. Months passed. The coffee shop changed. It was now called Rachel and Emma's, in honor of the past and the present. Haley baked her specialty cookies, Baby Steps, which became a hit in town. In October, a baby boy was born, whom Haley named Grayson Emmett. This is in your honor. You didn't just save me, she told Emma in the hospital room. You saved him before he was even born. A year after that phrase, that terrible one that can never be completely erased, Emma stood at the door of a coffee shop with a cappuccino, watching the mother with the stroller laugh with Lucas and George at his usual table reading the newspaper. She knew that the past would never completely disappear. But now it was more than pain. More than the cake left in the hallway. More than someone else's disdain. She was a woman who survived. She had built. And she learned to forgive not because she had to, but because the strong choose love when the weak run away in anger. Emma never went back. Because there was nowhere to go back to. And she doesn't need to anymore.